Great, hello everybody. Who's ready for another season of ALR racing? We are in Tier 3 once again. Someone's already joined before Pyro spins. Nice. Um, we are, yeah, it's my name is Ross Thorm. I do lots of things around ALR, especially for GT. I am also commentating Tier 3 once again this season. This is season 15, round 1, and we're at Spa. This is the 24-hour layout, so we are starting after turn 1 on the run down to Eau Rouge and Radion. So it is a bit of a challenge for these guys if they're going side by side, especially 3 wide into Eau Rouge. It's not going to work, so we could see some incidents in the opening couple of corners of this race. I think, yeah, I'll just go through the drivers and people can start watching. We've got 6 people joining already, which is pretty good for 5 o'clock. I'm streaming early because I have a feeling that some other guys want to do commentating tonight. I know Pyro does. I don't know if Erotica's going to do tier 6 as well. So I'm getting mine done early so that we don't have much overlap if that is the case. But yeah, let's run through the drivers and I'll give you a little bit of a background of how they got to Tier 3. So we've got Sidio Fak lining up P16. He is a race winner last season in Tier 3. He was in the Audi R8 then, and he's in a different MR car this time. It's the Renault RS01, which got a huge boost in the update. I was second on my list to pick for the season. Got great tyres. It's got great fuel. It doesn't have great top speed, though, so it might struggle on the run down the back straight that you could just see about to appear. So he's had a bit of a mare in qualifying, lining up P16 only, which is a bit of a surprise for me at least. Then we got Jezza, our Tier 4 champion. He is the only driver in ALR history to win a championship without winning a race. He's up in Tier 3. He is in the Lambo, which again is another car that got a really big boost. It did really well in esports on Sunday, and I think it did really well in Tier 1 on Monday as well. But Jezza only qualifying P15 on his return to Tier 3. And then we've got Botafumeiro, who was in one of the infamous drivers in the Z4 last season. He's gone for an interesting choice again this season. He's in the BRZ. So, yeah, it's another one that has pretty bad top speed. Can be incredibly quick, but we just we just don't know. He didn't manage to do very well in qualifying, only down in P14. Second season in a row in Tier 3 for Botta. They've got Julie Show in 13th. He dropped down from Tier 2 where he was making his debut halfway through the season. He's lining up 13th today in Tier 3. We've got Prime Call, another driver who dropped down from Tier 2. These two are both in the McLarens, it looks like. But I don't think Prime Call got his livery sorted, or it's just not loaded. Probably the latter. He's lining up P12. Then we've got Anonyma making his debut in the Toyota in P11. So fairly decent when it's your very first race. Lining up next to him is Mr. Revenge, making only his second appearance in Group 3. Made his debut right at the end of last season. Very quick driver. We made him a seeded driver because we saw some of his times that he was posting in general chat in some of the time trial challenges, and they were incredibly quick, fairly new to the game and making improvements every week it seems. Deco was our runner-up in Tier 3 last season. He is staying in Tier 3 for another one in the GR Supra, so the first of 2 GR Supras. Only P9 in qualifying, a bit lower than we're used to seeing him. Then Kanata is making his full-time return for this season. He's in the M6, so I'm expecting some big results from Kanata this season because the general consensus is that the M6 is going to be the quickest car in most places over 1 lap. He's in the M6. He's got a GR Supra logo on his car, though. Then we've got Scotty, a race winner in Tier 2 last season, got knocked down to Tier 3 because his performances, apart from that one, were just not enough with how competitive this league has got in the off-season. It was very, very difficult to move him down into Tier 3. He's in the BRZ, so it's again, he like when we were doing some practice races, he was struggling a little bit to keep the pace. But I think that's entirely down to this car because he had pace last season in the old NSX. So. Yeah, one of the title favorites, it's got to be said, but the car might hold him back from mounting a serious challenge, but we'll have to see. This might be the worst track for him this season. Hello, Jill. Then we got Pagel up in P6. He's in the Mazda RX division, so the first of two Mazdas in the top 6. Another one dropping down from Tier 2. He did get the odd podium, but also a lot of results outside the top 10 as well, unfortunately for him. And continuing that, Erotico's pretty much the same. He got 2 podiums on his debut season last season. This season he's dropped down into Tier 2. He's the other Renault, so he managed to get his into the top 5. So another one that I'm expecting to challenge for the title, especially with how strong this car should be in feature races. Pyro is the next one, another who's dropped down from Tier 2. Yeah, just couldn't string good pair of results together across the whole season, but he did improve towards the end. P4 is a decent qualifying for him in the Mazda. Then we got Geordie in the other GR Supra, again dropped down from Tier 2, only raced a couple of times, didn't have very good pace, but he looks like he's trying to redeem himself with P3 in qualifying today. Then we got Peachy, I'm going to call him Peachy, but he's called Arix Roblox on the screen. Arix driver, he raced in esports on Sunday in Lobby B, and he's lining up in P2 in that M6. Very solid start for Peachy. He's actually the one that I chose in the predictors to win the season, purely because I know he's very quick from esports, and he also won a race last season in Tier 3 in his only appearance. And yeah, he's got some good results in esports as well. So against this Tier 3, I think it is looking good for him. Finally, we've got Spin in the Nissan GTR, getting the first point of the season in Tier 3. He came up from Tier 4 last season. I think it's fair to say he was the quickest driver in that Porsche, but made a few mistakes. He's called Spin for a reason, so we will have to keep an eye out and see if he makes any more spins this season, or if he can mount a title challenge, which, based on qualifying, could be possible. Anyway, let's get going. We've been through all the drivers. It is time to get season 15 live and kicking. We've got 5 lights on, and they're out, and away we go. It looks like Geordie got a fairly bad start there, already overtaken by Eroticos, which we know is incredibly quick off the line in that Renault. Eroticos challenging Peachy, and looks like he's got P2 off Peachy. A little bit of nudging there has allowed Pyro to get through as well, and Geordie. So Peachy down into P5 as everyone got through the opening turns in one piece. Looks like so it looks like with 3 wide, Pagel's going to try and move around the outside with that Mazda against Roblox and Kanata, and a bit further up, a 3-way battle as well. Geordie trying to go around the outside, and Pyro getting up into P2. Let's rewind. First replay of the season, and it's going to Pyro. Geordie's trying to muscle his way in. He actually gives Spin a bit of a bump draft, but Spin still manages to make the corner pretty well, and Pyro is just slotting in perfectly in between Spin and Eroticos here. So, oh, a bit of a mistake from Geordie though. Or was he tagged by Pagel? So we have that 3-way battle behind. Let's just watch from this point of view and see. It looks like Peachy won that battle. And Geordie, yeah, his path forward was blocked a little bit. Peachy does spin him around, and I wonder if Peachy decides to brake. He doesn't. He's continuing on, and there's Prime Call. I think if that was reported, there'd be a bit of trouble. Mr. Revenge and Deco challenging for P6 now, so decent starts for both of these two. And it looks like Deco's going to get that position. Revenge had to go off track there and lost a lot of time in doing so. Deco defending the inside, and Revenge going way too wide, trying to hold it around the outside, and has allowed Prime Call and Scotty through. Great start for Scotty up into P8 and challenging Prime Call now. And a little bit further up, we've got Kanata giving Pagel a bit of a headache as well. And it looks like he's going to get alongside him. Capel loses all sorts of traction, and Kanata has to completely back out of it. Really unfortunate there. Meanwhile, Eroticos and Pyro are pretty close together now as well. Let's follow them to see if Eroticos is going to try a move under braking. We know that the Renault has much better brakes than the Mazda, and if he can keep close enough, he could get the move done if the door's left open. Looks like Pyro's going defensive, and Eroticos can't do anything going into turn 1. Spin has quite a good lead at the moment, maybe a second and a half, as they all come around the final corner. Now everyone's still together. And then we got Senor back. Oh! Someone span. That was Botta. Let's see what happened to Botta here. So we come around to the final corner. Here's Jezza. Botta, yeah, loses it all on his own. And that might be... Oh, and is he going to make contact with Jordi? Jordi all the way at the back after we saw that early off that happened between him and Peachy. So Eroticos really close to Pyro again, heading into Eau Rouge. This is where the Mazda should start to come good, and Eroticos might just be trying to stick with Pyro. It looks like he's got a bit of a run. Let's ride on board and see if he goes for a move. Pyro looks like he's leaving the door open. Eroticos is going to go for it. And a little bit brave on the brakes, and a very good move there from Eroticos to take P2. He planted his car perfectly, hit the apex as much as he needed to. Pyro made a little bit of contact and is a little bit out of sorts. Now Pagel is challenging his teammate for P3. And Pyro all of a sudden down to 4th. Pagel loses it on the rumble strips there, but gets P3 in the end. Deco now behind them. He's managed to overtake Kanata, but has a half-second penalty coming his way. Everyone's still pretty close, although Eroticos has managed to create a fairly big gap after Pagel overtook Pyro there. So not a good opening to the second lap for Pyro. Let's have a quick look down. Prime Colt 7th, Peachy in 8th with a second penalty. He's going to drop outside the top 10 potentially because of that. Senor Fax worked his way up to 12th after starting in last place. Let's follow on board with Deco and see how many spots he loses because of this half-second penalty. And we're just approaching the line now. He has been overtaken by Kanata, and Prime Call is right there as well. He slots in between them, but he's not got much speed going around this corner. Prime Call's probably had to lift a fair bit there to make sure that there was no contact. Now, is there going to be a move into the bus stop? It looks like everyone's taking it fairly normally, trying to get a good exit as well to complete the second lap. And looks like a fairly bad exit actually for Prime Call. Anonymous on his debut is going to try and move from the outside into the La Source hairpin. And he goes incredibly wide, actually, does Anonymous, but keeps it on the track. He might have better traction on the exit. These are teammates, by the way, for the McLaren team. No team orders today. Looks like Anonymous won out the battle for now. Prime Call's had to back out of it, which has caused Mr. Revenge to get close to him. Yeah, Prime Call's actually a bit closer to Anonymous now. Anonymous is going to leave the door open. Prime Call could go for it if he's brave. Instead, he decides to brake a little bit earlier to make the apex, and Anonymous survives for now. Julie Show has been overtaken by Senor Fak on this straight as well. Anonymous not in the McLaren, I beg your pardon. They aren't teammates. He's in the GR Supra, and he's got a run on Prime Call. So definitely looking a little bit quicker at this stage of the race. Obviously tyre wear hasn't started to kick in yet. A really wide entry there for Anonymous. Same for Mr. Revenge. This could open the door for Peachy to get that P9 back that he lost because of his penalty. And he gets a little bit of a nudge there from Mr. Revenge. Bit of late braking, and yeah, he's going to keep the position anyway, so not too much harm done. Revenge nearly loses it though, manages to save it, gets a little bump by Jezza. So, bit of a scruffy lap at the moment. Maybe it is because the tyres are starting to go off and mistakes are starting to creep in. Anonymous just losing a bit of time to Prime Call now and getting caught by Peachy. Peachy might fancy a P8 now. It's still as you were at the top. Mr. Revenge going incredibly wide. That'll probably be getting him a half second. Oh, and he gets a little nudge from Jezza, but nothing too bad. And he got away with, he must have lifted right off because he doesn't have a penalty, as all these cars are coming to finish the lap. Julie Show's having a fight with Geordie now. This is the fight for last place, and Geordie and Scotty. Scotty's fallen way back, so he's had a mistake somewhere. Massive spoiler on that BRZ. Geordie losing a bit of traction on exit, going side by side with Julie Show. These drivers all ex-Tier 2 drivers from last season. Geordie's got a good run on Julie Show. I'm going to stick with this. See if he can hold on to it. Julie Show taking a lot of the curb there. And I don't think Geordie's got enough. Oh no, here we go. Here we go. The slipstream has kicked in. The overspeed in that GR Super. It's a very quick car. It's perfectly suited to Spa. Geordie should be starting to make a bit of progress now for sure after his issues. He started P3. Got span a little bit on lap 1, and now he's up and off the end of the grid. And now Spin is actually getting caught quite quickly by Eroticos. Eroticos 8/10ths quicker on the previous lap. It looks like he's quicker even more on this one so far. So the Spin really took advantage of the start where he could build a gap fairly quickly whilst the other cars were battling, and then has just slowly started to get reeled in. His tyre wear is a little bit worse than the Renault's at this stage, but very similar, so they should both still be in a position where they can push pretty hard. Erotico's going purple at the moment. Oh, very wide from Pagel. Then we got Pyro coming under pressure from Kanata. Kanata all over the back of Pyro now as we head down this very, very long straight here, getting up to 6th gear. Let's see if Pyro goes into 6th or if he stays in 5th for the corner. He does go into 6th. It does offer a little bit better traction and helps you just make the corner essentially by going flat out. Having to brake incredibly early, but positioned his car fairly well, and Kanata didn't go for the move there. Deco catching up to the back of them now as well, so get a little Pyro train forming at the end of this sprint race. Yeah, Eroticos is 16.9 and Pyro down within a flat 18. Still fairly decent return at Tier 2 if he manages to keep hold of this P4. Kanata and Deco, I doubt, are close enough to get a move done, so let's have a little look down the grid and see if anyone... Wow, we're getting some big gaps now. Senor Fax dropped to the back. Now, he's had a mistake clearly, a 223.8 on that previous lap to drop to the back. So let's ride on board with the Eroticos as he tries to chase down Spin. Eroticos yet to have a win in ALR. Spin got a fair amount last season in that Porsche. Goes very wide, which is going to cost him a lot of time. And that's maybe half a second that Eroticos just cut out of him in one corner. But Eroticos returns the favour by going wide in the following corner. So Spin is going to re-establish that advantage. Very impressive opening round for Spin. Only 2 drivers promoted from Tier 4 to Tier 3 last season, Spin and Jezza. And Spin has led every lap fairly comfortably. It might start to get a little bit hairy as the race wears on. It will depend a lot on how much these drivers have practiced on slightly worn soft tyres, to be honest, because you can't take certain corners the same on the last lap compared to the first and second lap when the tyres are fresh and nice and warm and in the zone. So I think that might determine who the winner ends up being. Also, quite easy to get a penalty when the tyres start wearing. Oh, Eroticos a little bit slow on the acceleration out of the bus stop chicane there, allowing Slim to extend a little, and he's dropped 0.7 of a second on this lap compared to the previous lap, Eroticos, so his progress is definitely being slowed as he catches the driver in front who's set an identical lap time to him on that previous lap. A little bit further back, Deco's actually pretty close to Kanata now, so we've got this BMW that looks like a Toyota and a Toyota that looks like a Toyota still. GR Supra does have better top end speed at the end of this straight as well, which you can see here. Kanata does have pyro slip, but he's getting caught. Not enough, but look at that first sector from Deco with all that slipstream, 0.4 purple. Fortunately going wide there, and this is the crucial sector in the lap. The first sector and the last sector are just 2 long straights with some like 1 or 2 corners. This middle sector is where all the time is won and lost. Kanata really close to Pyro now. Let's leave Deco for a second because he is not keeping up with these two. Deco actually under a little bit of pressure from Prime Call. Deco having to shut the door mid-corner. Looks like he survived for now. Meanwhile, Kanata is a lot closer to Pyro. Pyro going defensive into the corner, trying to prevent a dive bomb. Kanata's still going quicker than he has done so far in this race. So he must be pushing Pyro along a little bit. Pyro under a lot of pressure, and he might... Kanata's caught up to him at the worst time. And he manages not to go wide. He must have lifted a little bit, Kanata, and he could do a dive if he's brave. He doesn't. He brakes really early. In fact, it allows Deco to close up because Deco braked at the normal position, closing up on both of them. And Prime Call is going to join this battle now as well. Meanwhile, Anonymous 8th, Revenge up into 9th. He's managed to pass Peachy. So Peachy on course for reverse grid pole. Jezza looks like he's going to miss out by just about a second as he's getting chased down by Scotty. Scotty, I reckon, despite being in the BRZ, is going to win some races this season. This is not a representative race for him, and I'm assuming that it is going to continue in this vein. But yeah, let's see what everyone else is up to. Revenge up in P9, so a solid race for him. Pretty similar to how he did at the end of last season. Rotico's 17.1 last lap compared to a 17.4 for Spin, so he is still fairly close. This is the battle for the race win, and we are on the final lap. The gap looks like it's extended a little bit though for Spin. Spin again pretty wide. Erotico's going even more wide around this corner. Neither of them taking it very well. Like I said, the tyres are starting to lose performance now, and Erotico seems to be struggling on this final lap. He's fortunate that Pagel is so far behind, because if there was a driver right behind him, I think they would have claimed a position in these corners. Yeah, it looks like we're going to get a lights to flag victory by Spin. Although he still has a few corners that he needs to avoid what his trademark is, which he did a fair few times last season in Tier 4, but also managed a fair few performances just like this, where he dominated the proceedings and rightfully earned himself promotion. Could have been a champion last season if it wasn't for those spins, it's got to be said. This is only his second season in ALR, and yeah, he's proving that it doesn't matter what tier he's in, he's going to put in a solid performance. Nissan GTR seems to be an inspired choice for Spin this season, and he's going to round the final corner of the bus stop chicane in first place. He has been caught quite a lot at the end, but it does not matter. Your race winner for round 1 is Spin, followed by Eroticos, great podium for him, 3rd in ALR, Pagel a podium on his return as well, Pyro P4, Kanata 5th, Deco 6th, Prime Call is 7th, Anonymous 8th, Revenge 9th, and Peachy on reverse grid pole gets the final sprint race point. Unfortunate for Jezza just missing out, as well as Scotty. Geordie with his unfortunate incident on lap 1. Then we got Julie Show in 14th, and Senor Fak rounds out the grid in P15. Botafumeiro was a DNF, and he did back out of the season because he unfortunately isn't going to be available due to, you know, personal stuff. It happens, doesn't it? So instead, Anonyma, who is also racing here, he started out as a reserve. He's going to be the new full-time driver. Oh, 14 people watching. It's not bad for 5:30 in the afternoon. Right, let's have a quick look at the tyre situation. This is a fairly low tyre wear track. We are on 5 times now. There are punctures in existence, and the tyres do operate differently. Excuse me, my dog is dying for some attention. I'm just going to pick her up. Oi! So yeah, I'm expecting everyone to do a medium-medium strategy, essentially. I think every car can handle that, at least around here. So let's just have a quick look. Everyone appears to be starting on the mediums. The track is slightly damp, actually. So everyone's starting on mediums, despite the fact that we're not too far away from interweather. It doesn't look like it's raining. So we'll have to see what happens with the weather situation. Have a feeling that the track's going to stay damp for a lap or two and then completely dry up based on what everyone's decided to do. Let's get going then. We got 40 minutes or 18 laps. So it's actually going to be about 42. And we'll have to see who is victorious in the feature race. Peachy with an incredible advantage starting from pole in that M6. If he can keep Revenge behind, then it could end up looking fairly good for him. As we go through Eau Rouge, again, it is our turn 1 on this race, at least for lap 1 anyway. Revenge is catching up to him a little bit. There is no slipstream available for Peachy compared to Revenge in this Nissan. He is going to get pretty close, and he's going to try and move around the outside. Peach, oh, well, a little bit of contact, nothing too bad. Peachy keeps P1 anyway. Excuse me. And let's see what's happened. Any action further down. Oh, Paggle's nearly lost it, and Pyro and Eroticos are side by side as well. Spin is in the mix as well. Looks like Pyro's being shuffled down to P9. Eroticos still trying to get around him, actually. The move's not done. Pyro does have the outside line for this corner, but sticks it around the outside, gets back up to P8. Spin in 10th, and then there's a gap again. Scotty is up into 11th, Geordie 12th, Julie, and Jezza down into 14th. Maybe let's have a quick look at what happened to Jezza. So Jezza actually started on the corner, completely caught out there, especially on the damp track. Goes off track, gets overtaken by Scotty straight away. Now we're heading into Eau Rouge, and he's lifted quite a lot. Not confident in these wet conditions at all compared to Scotty. Now Geordie has got very close to him as well. It looks like Julie Show is going to close in really quickly as he's battling to get past Senor Fag. And Fag's going to go around the outside of Julie, and Julie's actually going to keep that position with a really good bit of traction there. But anyway, going back to where we were, we've got Peachy with a fairly comfortable lead. Anonyma coming under pressure from Prime Call now. Excuse me. So we'll have to see if he can stick it. It is very tricky conditions. It is raining actually as well. The water gauge has gone up to a third full, so we're starting to get into the crossover period where inters might be needed. I'll be interested to see if anyone actually dives into the pits before the end of the lap. Anonymous sliding through the corners, and that's going to affect his speed onto this straight here. He's already going defensive, you can see. Primecole's going to have to do it the hard way around the outside, and on a very slippery track, this is going to be difficult to go side by side. Anonymous looks like he's kept the position very well there. They both make the corner, which is fantastic as well. And Primecole looks like he's got the position. As you can see, a penalty there for Mr. Revenge. That's great news for Peachy. And Kanata trying to make some progress as well. So they're still going to battle side by side into turn 1. Anonymous on the outside looks like he's got a bit better speed heading into it. But how are these guys going to take turn 1 on? Are they going to hit it? Looks like Anonymous had to go very wide, and it didn't give him a better exit than Primecole. Primecole takes that position fairly easily. Deco getting a bit of a bump draft there from Kanata. Deco catches Anonymous through Eau Rouge. You could tell Anonymous must have lifted a little bit more than Deco. And now he's going to try and get the move done as we head to the end of the straight here into the braking zone. Anonymous got Primecole to deal with as well. Deco looks like he's going to get that move done. So a couple of places lost there on one. Basically a straight for Anonymous, not the start that he would have wanted. A little bit further back. Pyro's been shuffled down to 10th. Let's see what's happened to Pyro, because he was 8th. Going into the last source hairpin, he's very wide. And Eroticos just gets the position fairly easily there. And then we're going to see Pyro lose another position at some point. Eroticos and Pyro very, very close heading into Eau Rouge. Bit of lag there with Eroticos as well. Now Spin managed to take it flat out, it looks like, or as close to flat out as he possibly could, because Pyro's looking slow. He's got the slipstream of Eroticos, but I don't think it matters. Spin's going to get this position. And there we have it. Down to 10th for Pyro. Let's see if Eroticos is going to try and get past Anonymous as well. So some really good laps so far for Eroticos. He got past Pyro, he's got past Pagel, and now he's got past Anonymous as well, who's continuing to fall back here. So he's not enjoying these medium tyres on this wet track at all. It is starting to dry out again a little bit. It will be fairly hairy on the rumble strips though, and these guys are actually taking them, which I think is a bit mental, because you're just risking a spin by doing that. But Anonymous getting challenged by Pyro now. He's trying to make a bit of progress on this lap. Let's ride on board with Pyro and see how he does. He looks like he's caught Anonymous. He's had to go off track a little bit. Is that going to be a penalty for Pyro? Potentially. And Anonymous gets away with it. And Pyro is still in P10. It's not really getting caught by Geordie too much. Well, actually, he was about 4 seconds a lap quicker than Pyro there, so he is getting caught. See anyone close enough to do a charge. Looks like we've got Eroticos and Pagel having a battle here. Side by side into Eau Rouge. I don't know if this is a good idea. Pagel backs out of it. Eroticos takes the position. And Pagel does have a bit of a gap to Spin behind him. But he might be getting a penalty for going off track on the exit. No, but it looks like there's a bit of action further up. Deco's managed to get past Primecole. Deco up into P3. We've seen this a lot in feature races last season. Deco just works his way into the podium positions, manages to get good starts and make some solid overtakes. So once again, we're seeing it, different car, but similar outcome so far in this feature race. Meanwhile, Peachy with a fairly solid lead at the moment. Revenge did have that penalty we saw and hasn't been able to keep the pace, but you might be able to start bringing him back again. It looks like Spin just got a position. Oh no, Spin and Pagel are actually fighting for position. Anonymous giving them a bump through as well. Pyro, ooh, Pyro's got his penalty there. I could see Spin having to go defensive to Anonyma. Anonyma feeling like the tyres are coming back to him now. Pyro under a bit of pressure from Geordie. Spin and Anonyma still side by side. Spin having to go defensive once again. This is allowing Pagel to get away. Let's see what this penalty does for Pyro, because Anonyma hasn't been able to get a move done on the infield section. There's P10 for Geordie, and Scotty's going to be right behind as well. This should be a fairly easy overtake for Scotty. Pyro's still going backwards. There is no one behind him though, so he's down into 12. Not the best start for the guy who finished in P4. But Spin is still trying to hold off Anonymous. This is a complete reversal of what we saw in the sprint race. Pagel going incredibly wide on that exit. I don't know if that's going to be a penalty for him. But Spin under a lot of pressure from Anonyma here. Maybe he's just not as comfortable on these mediums. The track is pretty much dry enough that you can push 99% flat out, I would say. Just be careful on the curbs. Anonyma going to try and get a move done on Spin, it looks like. He's got... Oh, he had to lift. And Spin's going to start driving away. That is that challenge done, because potentially the dirty air and the water mixed together didn't allow for Anonyma to go flat out, essentially. He would have got past Spin quite comfortably if he went flat out. The track's definitely getting quicker. We're seeing purple first sectors. Spin going very wide. This could be the chance for Anonyma. Not quite. Spin having to go defensive again though. Every time he's going defensive, he's going to be losing a few tenths of time off what he's capable of. And it's allowing Pagel to just feel comfortable ahead of him. Geordie now has caught up to the back of these as well, so it's going to be a three-way fight. Little spin train forming. Anonyma definitely has really good speed at the moment. And you could see there, that was quite interesting. He hit the curb, got a little bit of extra... Oh, Spin very wide there. Spin's gone very, very wide, and he's going to keep it still unless Anonyma can get a great cut back here. If it was a slightly longer straight, Anonyma would have got that position, but Spin survives again. Oh dear. Good save, but Geordie's going to get him now. And just like that, attack comes to losing a place. Just one little mistake there cost Anonyma maybe a second and a half, to be honest. It's the worst corner on the track to make a mistake like that. Let's see what's happening a bit further up. It's all starting to get a bit congested. No changes for position yet, but I think from Mr. Revenge down, everyone is within a few seconds. Eroticos setting his fastest lap. I didn't actually realise this was a race that started. It's a nice little bonus. I wonder if some of these guys didn't even realise. That's a great overtake. That is a great overtake. Let's rewind and watch this live. Eroticos is going to go round the outside of Kanata into the Lasource hairpin. Kanata taking it very gingerly, going over the curbs, and Eroticos getting a fantastic exit to get that position. Fairly straightforward move, but it's not an easy one to do when you're at a hairpin like that. Kanata's going to have a chance now to get him back. So we're going through Radion and Kanata having to lift slightly. We know the Renault doesn't have good top speed, so he could manage to catch him back up. Kanata's not going to really be benefiting from Prime Call's slipstream on this lap. And he gets away with it for now. Yep, and a half-second penalty for Kanata. That's unfortunate. That's going to drop him slightly more towards Pagel. A bit further up, we got Prime Call challenging Deco. Prime Call having a fairly good feature race here, which is definitely what we expect of him. We did still have some good results in Tier 2. All the drivers who came down from Tier 2 had good results last season. It's just so many good drivers are in the league now that it's shuffled a lot of people down, not because of bad performances, but just because of the competition. So this really, a few seasons ago, this would be a tier 2 quality tier, but now it's tier 3 quality, which is good for the league. Looks like Primecall is gaining on Deco fairly well here. Let's have a look. Well, Deco's front right is a little bit more worn. So that, oh, Revenge has had a penalty. So Deco's going to go up into second. Primecall's going to catch up to him and get that move done. Revenge closes the door and has to go wide. That was a bit naughty of Revenge, I think. But he keeps the position anyway, and Primecall, oh, he goes wide. And now Primecall is surely going to sweep through his... Yeah, great exit for Primecall. So that's unfortunate for Revenge. He's lost 2 positions there. Kanata just ahead of Pagel after serving his penalty as well. Oh no, Eroticos was the one who had a penalty. That's why Pagel is ahead of him. Meanwhile, Pyro's worked his way back up into the top 10, so he's got ahead of Scotty and Anonyma, who's continuing his fall backwards after doing so well for a couple of laps, to be honest. Revenge still is the closest person to another driver. He's got a chance of getting past Primecall. It looked like he held the throttle down the whole way through over Rouge and Radion, and he definitely has a little speed advantage by maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour at the moment. Now he's in the slipstream. Primecall already saying, I'm going defensive. Actually, no, never mind, I'm not. And yeah, Primecall wins out for now. So quite a good little battle for the podium going on. A completely different set of drivers to who we saw in the sprint race. Geordie working his way up into 8th is mighty impressive. Spin is struggling in this feature race. I'm not sure why. The track's completely dry now as well. We're on lap 6. That's quite big tyre wear for Geordie and Eroticos as well, actually. I don't think on lap 6 the tyres should be this worn. Spins are even worse. Let's see. Pyros aren't doing too good either. What are Pagel's doing? Well, actually, it looks like Kanata maybe has the best tyre wear looking at the front left. So, potential for progress for Kanata. I'm expecting maybe 1 or 2 people to be brave and try pit stop on lap 8, because the undercut is phenomenal in Spa, because it's such a long lap. You can gain a huge chunk of time, but then for the rest of the stint you are going to be slower than the cars around you based on tyre performance. Almost everyone in on lap 9, and unless we see some really wacky strategies, I'm not expecting anyone to last it until lap 10. We saw, I think, that happen in tier 2 and it didn't work out well. People tried the medium soft strategy and had to pit an additional time because basically that ain't gonna work. So end of lap 6, and it looks like a huge lead for Peachy, and then a nice well, the train is spreading out actually in the battle for P2. Everyone's kind of shuffling into their natural positions now. Deco in P2 really gets that turn 1 wrong. And then we got Primecall in a solid P3. Started to gap Revenge a little bit now. They were really close to each other this time a lap ago. Revenge with the fastest lap, but it's only an 18.3. I'm expecting the fastest lap to probably be in the 17s, even though everyone will stay on mediums unless someone decides to do a glory run at the end if their race isn't going too well. Pyro's been overtaken by Scotty again, but he's going to have a chance to get him back straight away, so maybe a penalty, maybe a mistake, but this should be one of the most straightforward overtakes around the outside that you'll see all season. And yeah. Oh! Pyro has the move done. Is there any contact? Well, yeah, he just floors it. Look at the so this is a little bit of education for everyone. Let's pause the video at the exact point that Pyro loses it and have a look at the steering. Pyro is steering nearly fully right and decided to floor the throttle. He didn't need to be steering this much to the right because you can see the corner right there. You can't floor the throttle, especially on worn mediums. when you're steering that much. And this is the issue with Pyro's driving. He's on wheel, but he is turning far too aggressively, which is tearing up the tire life. Even on the Mazda, which has great tires, he doesn't have significantly better tires than everyone else, which he should. And he's about to go into the wall because he just floored it without straightening his arms. That is the key thing for wheel drivers to learn. You cannot do that, especially if you're going to have traction control on 1 or 0, which is, well, you really need it on 0 under the new rules if you want to be setting quick laps. So yeah, it's unfortunate for Pyro. He was starting to make a bit of progress, and it's going to be a tough one for the rest of the race for him. This is Pyro's first spin of the season. Anonyma is the first one into the pits. I'm assuming that he's going to be doing a 2-stop then. Let's see what he comes out of the pits in, because if it's anything other than hards, then this will be a 2-stop. And if it's on hards, then I'll be keen to see how that goes, because we haven't seen the hard tyres this season. They came out in Autopolis. He is on the hards. He's going for an incredibly long final stint. Love to see the variation in strategies. Let's look at Peachy. He's also got the Toyota livery on his BMW. I was wondering if he'd not be interested in this joke that Kanata has. But yeah, so we got the BMW M6 dominating from pole position. Kind of was expected. Like I said, this guy was my pick to win Tier 3. And he'd got reverse grid pole after qualifying P2. So we know he's got the qualifying pace. Had a bad sprint, had that incident in sprint as well, which I don't know if it got reported to the stewards, but it looked like a pen on first glance. But no worries of that happening in the feature race anyway, because he is leading by quite a substantial amount. Prime Call down in the 120s now in the McLaren. Oh, a second penalty for Deco. What has happened to Deco? He was in P2. So Prime Call's caught up to him. Deco's tyres are looking a little bit worse for wear. He's struggling with these corners for traction, and you can see how Prime Call is getting a much better exit from each of those corners. Now he's going for it down the inside here. Deco is going to go very wide into the next corner, and Prime Call takes that position incredibly easily. Now, what is going to happen to Deco here to get the 1 second penalty? I'm assuming it's on the tyres, and it is around this next bend after this one, where he's going to fail to make the corner. He's got a bit of slipstream on Prime Call as well. Prime Call going fairly slow. And yeah, there we go. That will be the 1 second, because he's kept his foot down completely there. Oh, and very wide, and nearly loses it, and now Revenge is gonna... Oh, Revenge nearly loses it. So what's Kanata? Kanata nearly lost it as well. So it looks like Deco's gonna survive somehow, because every driver shat the bed there. And Deco going incredibly defensive, misses turn 1 completely. There goes Revenge, there goes Kanata. Kanata gets 2 positions in one go. Let's rewind and watch that again from his point of view. Not often that you get a double overtake into the La Source hairpin. Oh, lovely. I mean, they made it easy for him. They did. But that is a nice move for Kanata. Well done. Revenge is going to want to get close to him. He's completely lifted. He's not going to get close to him. No need to lift in Eau Rouge, boys. Not even when the tyres are like this, and he gets the second penalty despite lifting. So good news for Rotikos, who's got up to P5. Deco just falling backwards and backwards now. So he's got a 2-second penalty. So something else has happened to Deco. So we left the battle here because I thought it was done and dusted. He was just going to tuck in behind Revenge, but clearly not. Rotikos gets through as well. That's how bad his exit was. So 3 positions lost in 1 corner for Deco. Now we are going to go through Eau Rouge and Radion. He's going to try and go full throttle, and yeah, couldn't do it. And now Jordi, his teammate, is going to get past. So up into P6 from outside the top 10 at the start of this feature for Jordi. Really decent race for him, showing why we put him in Tier 2 in the first place. Revenge and Eroticos having a bit of contact ahead. Oh, bad corner there for Geordie. Let's join Eroticos. He's really close to Revenge. If I was him, I would just stay behind until the penalty point, even though Revenge is going wide pretty much every corner. His tyres are in a worse state than Eroticos, and he's still got this lap and probably another one to go. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Revenge at this point. I don't know what way Eroticos wanted to go, but he's on the inside now. He's going to get that position on the rumbles for Revenge, and manages to not lose too much time. Geordie's got a second penalty now as well, and Deco's got 2 seconds. So this is great news for Scotty. Scotty's some way behind, but he won't be by the end of the lap. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, this is great news for Eroticos. He got past him before the penalty line. All these guys have penalties, and the top 4 are basically going to be able to break away fairly comfortably. Revenge nearly losing it again. Geordie might actually get him. Be interested to see. It's going to be a drag race for these two on the penalty line. What they end up doing. Oh, and that is the difference in the cars on the penalty line. So 1 second penalty penalises the Supra a lot more than it penalises the Nissan a lot more than it penalises the Supra. Johnny might be getting another penalty there for going wide. He's going very defensive, gets a half second, and very sloppy through the corner. Revenge and Johnny both heading into the pits at the end of lap 8, as is Deco. Spin carrying on. Let's go back to the front. Pyro down into 12th now behind Senior Fac after that mistake that we saw. Looks like we're down to 14. Someone disconnected. That would be Pagel. Unfortunately, all of the Indian drivers disconnected at the exact same time on Monday because of something going on there with their internet. So that was really unfortunate because he was in P4. Now Scotty is in P4. Ahead of Spin, Kanata in P3. All the drivers who had penalties ended up coming into the pit, so we couldn't see how that would benefit Scotty. Scotty still has fairly decent tyre life compared to Kanata. Prime Call's looking good as well, but we know that the McLaren's going to be good on tyres. Not as good as it used to be, but still very good. And it doesn't really matter what Peachy's tyres are doing because he's got such a lead. Let's see if we can even see any driver in the distance now. Well, yeah, just before he took the corner, Prime Call appeared. So he's not completely out of sight. Kanata definitely is, though. We've got a little bit of fighting down into... Oh my god, a 1.5 second penalty for Pyro. It's going from bad to worse. This can happen with Pyro, unfortunately. One setback can cause multiple. He needs to keep his head in the game when that happens, because you can still get a great result despite a spin, especially in Tier 3 when we've seen lots of penalties on this race, and some guys not really managing the tyres very well at all as well, it's got to be said. Eroticos came out of the pits. He's the highest driver to have made his pit stop now. There's Revenge, so he has gapped Revenge a little bit. Geordie, with his half-second penalty, still yet to serve it, dropped a little bit back from Revenge as well. Revenge has a very good fuel tank, nearly loses it on that Nissan. Well, it's one of the best. I would say the Renault is slightly better. Revenge has slightly less fuel though at the moment. Geordie still within sight of Revenge with that half-second penalty. They are quite a way back. Peachy has just come into the pits. Prime Call has followed. It looks like Kanata's going in as well. Scotty as well. Look, yeah, this is going to be everybody, isn't it? Oh, I wonder if that will give him a penalty. Slightly cut the line, it looked like. Maybe not with the full wheel. Jezza coming in. Then we've got Senior Fac, and Pyro's a mile off now after his 1.5 second penalty. Ooh. Come on, lads. There you go. Let's see if this second stint is any better in terms of tyre management for these guys, because those mediums on everyone were not very well managed, it's got to be said. Where's Anonyma? Anonyma on his hard tyres, and Julio is on hards as well. So these guys opting for a medium hards. Everyone else is out on the mediums. Oh, Eroticos out of the final turn. Let's see where he slots into with all of these. He wasn't in the top 3 before. Let's see if he has managed to get a monstrous undercut on some of these guys. Peachy is out, so it won't be P1, but I think we knew that. Prime Call has just hit back straight as well, so it looks like it's going to be a fight between himself and Kanata. There's Kanata, you can see. It's going to be comfortably ahead of him. Actually, he might even get Prime Call. Prime Call's very, very slow out of the pits to get up to speed. And this is going to give Eroticos a great chance to get P3 straight away. Down the inside he goes. Prime Call decides not to really fight it. And Eroticos gets up to P2 with the undercut, but he's got the tyre disadvantage for the rest of the race. Great strategic move there from Eroticos, definitely the right one to pull. Kanata got overtaken by Revenge as well, so he'll be trying to get past him for the remainder of the race. So Kanata dropping from 3rd to 5th in that pit sequence. Long way to go, only halfway through the race. Geordie P6. Scotty is in 7th after the first stop, making great progress just like Geordie in this feature. Spin in 8th. Not great for our race 1 winner, only made 2 positions. Deco all the way to 9th with a half-second penalty again. He's going to fall a little bit behind Spin. Then we got Jezza 10th, Anonyma 11th on his hards. Senor Fak is 12th. Pyro down in 13th. And Julio is in last place. Pyro should be able to drive away from him fairly comfortably with the tyre advantage on those mediums. Well, let's stick with the Eroticos and Prime Call. They look really close, although Prime Call got a much better exit from that corner to give Prime Call a little bit of breathing space on Eroticos. A little bit further back, Revenge and Kanata are even closer to each other. If I was Kanata, I'd be seriously considering a move into the bus stop chicane. Kanata going wide is probably getting a penalty instead. That's the dirty air in full force. Kanata's going for it. Oh, a little bit of bumpy there, but Revenge keeps the position. That was actually reported to the stewards, so I won't give you what my opinion is on that, but it looks like Geordie's going to get past Kanata as a result anyway, so Kanata is the big loser there. From challenging to for P4 to dropping to P6, Geordie gets that position into the hairpin. Kanata is going to have to try and get a good exit, which he doesn't, and he's got that half-second penalty, so looking good for Geordie for getting a P5 in this feature. Meanwhile, Eroticos, is he going to keep his foot down through Eau Rouge? He does. Into 7th gear. The Renault has 7 gears, one of the only cars in Group 3 to have 7. Prime Call has decided I'm going to be defensive here. And keeps the position again for now, so if Prime Call can finish P2 on his return, that will be sure success for him. Eroticos on for a double podium tonight. I'm going to give a shameless plug to ALR now, so trigger warning. If you are watching and you are not subscribed, please could you do us a favour and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and we're getting closer every day, so if you just tune into these and you aren't subscribed, it would actually help us out massively if you are. So yeah, just check and subscribe if you want, and once we get to 1,000 we can start actually making money off of our YouTube as well. So kind of the next step in growth for ALR is if that can end up happening, because we get a lot of views because we stream so goddamn much, but yeah, we're not earning anything from it at the moment. Yeah, you can also like and comment, like apparently that helps. I don't really care though, to be fair. It could get a bit of exposure, I suppose, on people's For You pages if that happens. Anyway, back to the race. It looks like Prime Call's looking a little bit more comfortable than Eroticos at this stage of the race. He's started to pull away. Like I said, Eroticos had that undercut. His tyres are nowhere near as good as Prime Call's right now. An 18.8 for Eroticos compared to an 18.6 for Prime Call. So Prime Call a couple of tenths quicker. Whereas for the rest of the day, I think you could safely say that Eroticos kind of had the pace on Prime Call. So that is potentially the difference in the tyres for you at this stage. Geordie is still trying to chase down Mr. Revenge, 18.8 compared to an 18.3, so really good lap there for Revenge. A 24.4 for Kanata, who had that penalty to serve, and a 19.3 for Scotty. He's not going to be chasing down. He's actually got he's been chased down by Slim here. So the former Tier 2 driver against the former Tier 4 driver for position on lap 12 of this race. Spin's going to have the run here. There's Scotty. And Scotty brakes very late. Overshoots very slightly, but not really. That's kind of more of a strategic overshoot to keep the position very nicely, and he's starting to drive away through the twisty section because Spin was out of position through every one of those corners and nearly spins it. Oh! Wow. That was an impressive save. That was an impressive save. Let's watch that from the TV angle. This is some rallying going on in Tier 3. Look at that. And Deco does get through, unfortunately for Spin. That will have, well, his tyres will have hated that as well. He's still a little bit shaky there. So unfortunate there for Spin. He's lost a position. Instead of getting P7 from Scott, he's down to P9, which we've seen a lot tonight. People challenging for the position ahead and ending up a position behind because of their own mistakes. But yeah, does that count as a spin, chat? So Spin and Deco have both been in the wars in this feature race. I'm expecting Deco... Oh! Speaking of being in the wars, what happened here? Here we go. Is he just too much... Oh, that's similar to what Pyro did there. Just turning his wheel too much and going full throttle. And he didn't need to, because he had the space on the left to kind of slide the car into. Now he's going to lose that position to Deco. Deco's just had 2 free positions this lap. He didn't even have to do anything, and now he's back up into P7. Spin gets back up into P8. So unfortunate there for Scotty. Really punished for that mistake there. And yeah, his Tier 3 debut isn't going the best, but like I said, I'm expecting some big results for him in this season. Spin looks like he's got a run on Deco now as well. Let's see what happens into turn 1 here. Deco going defensive. Spin might be able to get the cut back. He can't because Deco's car's right there. And he loses a bit of traction on exit as well, so that could give Scotty a little run. But let's see what's happening further up. Jordy has caught up to Eroticos, and it looks like Jordy's caught up to Revenge, sorry, and Eroticos very close to Prime Call. Prime Call going wide all on his own. He got spooked by the presence of Eroticos into giving up that P2. And yeah, Prime Call's down into 3rd because of it. Scotty couldn't get close enough on the back straight in that slug of a BRZ to challenge Spin either. We got Pyro has worked his way back up into 11th now, so doing fairly well on his medium stint, lapping in the 19 solidly. That's some decent pace. 3, wow, very decently up in the first sector. Now we've got, yeah, let's stick with this battle. Deco is creating a bit of a train here. And actually it's Spin who got a worse exit coming out of that corner. But yeah, it's the ebb and flow of the train. Some drivers are getting closer to others, and yeah, is Spin going to be the next person? Oh, Spin loses it, and that's the easiest position Scotty's going to make today. You can't make those mistakes when you're in a battle. You absolutely cannot. And if you think Spin won the sprint race, but he kind of like Max Verstappen did, you know, win from pole, not challenge the whole race, could just do time trial times. This is where you earn your positions in the championship. If you can win these battles, avoid the mistakes. Tier 3 are in Tier 3 for quite, well, a large in part because a lot of them do make these kinds of mistakes. We've seen a lot of them in this race. They have the pace to really qualify ahead of a lot of Tier 2 guys and outrace them if they don't make mistakes. But the mistakes creep in as the race wears on. 40 minutes is a long time. The tyre wear is very high, and you do have to adapt to survive when it comes to managing tyres, which I think is a lesson a lot of these guys probably have to learn this season with the new physics that we've got. You can't drive the car the same as previously. Trail braking is not very beneficial to tyre life, even if it might be good for one lap pace. So even consider changing your driving style between the sprint and the feature, because the sprint you can afford to lean on the tyres a bit more. In the feature, you really have to nurse them as much as possible. Second penalty for Deco, that's another one for him, so this is looking even better for Scotty, and Deco slow out of that corner. Scotty lining up another move here, might be a fairly straightforward one. Some really good overtakes in this race as well, it's got to be said, including that one. So a good recovery from Scotty after his little mistake, lost him a couple of positions. He's got those positions back, and he could try and put some daylight in between himself and these two drivers behind who have penalties, which is great news as well for Jezza. Jezza might actually get 2 positions if he can catch up to Spin before the penalty line. He is quite far back though. Spin actually trying to get past Deco before the penalty line as well. So yeah, I think with a bit more consistency, a bit more time on the game, a bit more practice, especially in race setups, Spin could really be a force to be reckoned with, because he should be a lot higher on the grid than he is now. Deco and Spin going to lose some positions here to Jezza, I reckon, both of them. At least one. Yeah, so what I said about Deco and feature races earlier, just always popping up on the podium, I guess it doesn't apply to this round. So yeah, just what the one position for Jezza. A little bit further up, looks like Kanata is caught back up to Geordie, and we actually have a bit of a train going on. Eroticos ahead of Prime Call. I don't know if I saw that. Did I catch that? Let's go back. Yes, we did catch that. So this is the train of cars heading through Rouge and Radion. Eroticos ahead of Prime Call, who has maybe a second and a half on Revenge. Solidly ahead of Geordie, who's just got a second penalty. And he is going to sacrifice his top 5 position to Kanata as a result of that. When we get to the penalty line, what's Roblox doing? This is Arix Peachy, Arix driver, esports driver. Did race on Sunday. He raced on Sunday from this lobby, and Spin raced as well. Spin is in the Aero GT team. Spin beat him in the race. No, he didn't. Roblox beat Spin in the race, sorry. Spin finished, I think, 12th, and Roblox finished in 10th. So, not outstanding results, but esports is incredibly tough. It's got to be said. Much faster people. I mean, maybe like the top 5 could potentially win tier 1 races regularly. But yeah, both of them look like they're going to be sharing the win a day after sharing the track in esports. So potentially was good practice. Going up against incredibly quick drivers. Eroticos also in an esports team, he's in V2, he didn't race last night. Any of these other guys. Kanata as well is in V2, didn't race last night. Did really well in the final round of last season in Nürburgring. Again in the GR Super as well, so maybe that's what persuaded him to do this. He's already got past Geordie before the penalty line. Geordie's going to get a second penalty. He's miles ahead of Scotty. Scotty's got a penalty. Oh, man. Scotty's on soft tyres. Okay, Scotty's probably going to have to come into the pits anyway then. That's probably why he's getting a penalty. His tyres are not... Well, they're in puncture territory, let's be honest. He's going to get caught pretty quickly by Deco. Jezza not far behind, so Deco got past Jezza pretty quickly after getting overtaken himself. Scotty's surely going into the pits. He doesn't want that car to be there. And he is. Deco didn't know what was happening and managed to still almost hit the apex there. So extra few position for Jezza. Pyro's going to move up back into the top 10. So that's not the worst result if he could still get a top 10 after that huge spin that he had. But Fact in 12th, a little bit better than his sprint performance. Anonymous 13th, Julie 14th. Roblox already in Sector 2. Eroticos, Now, this is a big plot twist. Eroticos must have got that penalty going through over Rouge and Radion. Excuse me. And this is great news for Primecall, who did lose that position by making a mistake himself. Like I said, these guys are getting the position through mistakes rather than through fantastic moves a lot of the time. And consistency is king in this tier. Another bit of inconsistency there from Eroticos going wide on the exit. Primecall is going to get the position even before the penalty line. Great composure there for Primecall to get that position, hit the apex very nicely, and he's already driving comfortably away from Eroticos, who looks like he's struggling now on the medium tyres. Maybe because of that rear left tyre. It looks like it's maybe got 30% left on it. Yeah, the guys who went on the hards, by the way, are, yeah, very, very low down. They're probably going to get overtaken by Scotty before the end on his fresh softs. Scotty surely is going to get a fastest lap, at least, to fix this, because, yeah, the fastest lap's been set on mediums. An 18.1. An 18.1 on mediums is crazy, by the way. I think the fastest I managed on mediums was a 17.8. So 0.3 off the best that I managed in all of my practice on medium tyres. They do have, well, they do have a huge tailwind on the straight, which is helping massively with the times. So actually, having said that, I think Scotty could get the fastest lap with that tailwind that we've got right now. There's no reason why he shouldn't. This car's good in the infield section, and he's got a bit of help on the backs on the straight. Okay. Yeah, Primecall's got a comfortable lead. Eroticos actually lost a position to Revenge as well. Let's go back and see. Oh, it was just a straightforward overtake. And that's because he lost his composure, basically, after he had that penalty. Is Revenge getting a penalty now? He went off on both sides of Radion. Surely that's a penalty. He can't have lifted enough. He definitely did lift, because look how slow he is, compared to a Renault as well. He's going to have to go around the outside. Revenge somehow avoids a penalty. And, yeah, Eroticos just asking way too much of his tyres around the outside on the braking zone there, and loses that position. Kanata might have a run at him for P4 now as well. Kanata's tyres are a lot better than Eroticos. Like I said, Eroticos came in a lap earlier than everyone. And it worked out for track position, but he's suffering massively from it now. Which is why 9 and 9 was the better strategy in terms of pure time, but you do have to factor in the cars around you as well, and if you're confident enough to stay ahead of them once you get the undercut done. Difficult when you're in a car like the Renault, because of its straight line speed, but that isn't the reason Eroticos has dropped positions. It's penalties. Revenge really scruffy on that infield section as well. Now Eroticos is closed back up, so we've got a three-way fight for the final position on the podium. We're nearly starting the final lap of the race as well. And there's not much that they could do. Really late on the brakes for Kanata, but he still makes the corner fine. Oh, bit scruffy from Kanata there, but Eroticos might have a little run on Revenge. We've seen Eroticos make overtakes into turn 1 a few times, actually. The tyres are really rough now in this final lap for pretty much everybody. Eroticos could be a lot smoother on his tyres as well. This Renault has fantastic tyre life, but I think he's driving a bit too aggressively, but it's giving him the pace at least. Oh dear! Come on, Kanata, this should be an easy overtake for you after that mistake. Is Eroticos getting a penalty as well? 1.5, because he massively ended up cutting Radion, because he just completely lost traction there. He'll be swearing at himself right now for letting that happen. Just one too many mistakes for Kanata, for Eroticos, sorry, in this race. He should have had a P2 fairly comfortably. but instead he's definitely going to have to settle for P5. Looks like Spin is a long way behind. Geordie's not far behind Spin, so keep an eye out on that battle in the final lap as well. Looks like everyone else is fairly spread out. Anonyma getting caught by Scotty, who's actually overtook Julie already. 18.6, so that's still half a second off the quickest lap. Anonyma all over the place through Rouge and Radion. He's just going to get overtaken incredibly easily. Nice extra overtake there for Scotty on his quest to get the final, the fastest lap point to add to his 2 or 3 that he's going to get for finishing this race. But let's give Peachy a little bit of love as we head around the final sector for the final time, the 18th time in this feature race. Another lights to flag victory for Peachy. So yeah, we've seen it in the sprint by Spin and the feature by Peachy, but when they've had to battle in the races, they've not been able to get good results individually. But rounding the final corner is Peachy. He's going to be your first feature race winner of Season 15 in Tier 3. Massive congrats to Peachy. Second win in ALR for him. Prime Call with a fantastic podium. Getting P2, very composed drive. Didn't put a foot wrong that I saw, apart from once or twice. To get a solid P2 didn't cost him much time. Revenge going to cling on to P3. That's his first ever podium in ALR. Kanata P4. Now we've got Eroticos in 5th place after his trials and tribulations in this race. Spin is going to round the final corner to take a solid P6, but it could have been a lot better, making a lot of mistakes in this race as well. And then Deco, what happened? It should have been a podium for you, mate. P7 in the end. Jezza is in 8th, good little recovery outside the top 10. Pyro 9th in the end. Geordie's out of fuel, and that is why everyone is 1 position higher. Didn't calculate that very well. Geordie should have had a top 6 there. Senior Fak instead is going to take P10, so at least he gets the top 10 on his debut despite having no pace today. Geordie, is he going to get 11th? Still just about. Then we got Julio in P12. Something's happened to Scotty. Scotty's run out of fuel as well. So we've got Julio in 12th, Anonyma in 13th in the end. So a few points despite not the best race and poor strategy choosing the medium hard. And we got Scotty rounding out. Let's just stick with him while I get the standings up and tell you where everyone is. This is pre-stewards. The stewards reports are still open for another hour and a bit. So Spin is actually the championship leader. He's got a 1-point lead over Eroticos, and he's got a 3-point lead over Peachy. Prime Call's up there, Kanata's up there, and Mr. Revenge is up there. All of those drivers are within 8 points of each other. And then in the team standings, Nissan GTR 18 is on the top with 52, just 1 point ahead of the BMW M6 team. And there's a bit of a gap down to Renault on 35, McLaren on 30, and Mazda in 5th place on 26. So there we go. That's perfect timing. Thanks for watching, guys. Join us next week when we are going to be at Road Atlanta.